TPS. I'm sure some of you guys know what that's all about. But in case you don't, it's temporary protection services. Why some of you might ask the question, well, what does it have to do with me? Today, most likely nothing if you're an American citizen. Israel American citizen, let's be clear here. But if you happen to be Haitian, then that's going to mean a whole lot to you. As you know, this government has decided as of February 1st to end the temporary protection services for Haitians that came here mostly through legal immigration processes, not to become permanent citizens here, but temporary permanent citizens here are protected temporarily. Most of them from the real bad earthquake that happened in Haiti about a decade or so ago. You remember the Clinton Foundation was caught down there kidnapping little children allegedly and shipping them out, and caught a couple of Edomites with a bus load of Haitian children claiming they were orphans, and then later they found out that these children had been snatched away. Their parents had been looking for them. And of course, they arrested the two male and female Edomites, so-called white people, who were in possession of the children. And then the Clinton Foundation conveniently, bailed them out, or more or less, sent their delegates, down to Haiti and pretty much threatened them probably with the inch of their life, and had them released back into the heathens' custody to free them, because they were only doing the bidding of their masters, as they still do this very day. But I bring that up because if you look at the title of this message in regards to Yahuah, should they be afraid? Should they fear? Well, let's put it like this. And I'm not just talking about the Haitians, by the way, because maybe I should expand this before I go into the depths of, Yahuah, sharing with me to share with you, should you be afraid? And, of course, when we think about, holistically the bigger picture, sure, many of you are saying, I'm not afraid of anything, After all, Jesus got me, or the Lord is my shepherd, or, whatever, floats your boat. Because for most, it's a boat floating. It's just a saying. It's just a metaphor for them. Because at the end of the day, I can assure you, Yahuah is not going to come to your rescue. At least not 9/10 of you. That's the word. But again, we can explore that in just a moment. But you can profess and people can say whatever they want to say, But over the last few days, I've had some time to sit back and just listen to Yahuah. And I heard him. And he told me, again, stop caring about those who don't care about him. And secondly, the majority of Yashrael does not care about Yahuah. They care about themselves, what they can get from him. And once they get what they can get from him, many of you, then you pretty much thumb your nose at him and you go back to your comfortable or your not comfortable, lifestyles. And then some of you, again, who are marked for death, you have long ago lost connection with the Creator, and you're in connection with demons and spirits within yourself. And so you just conjure up a certain feeling, and that's what you go with, because, again, you're not afraid. Well, I'll say this much to you. America has over 1,500 prisons. 1,500. Over 2 million prisoners. And a lot of those prisoners need to be replaced because Donald Trump just recently said, a couple of days ago, that he's going to turn a lot of the big box retailers, those buildings that, were abandoned, that they claimed that shoplifters were randomly going through, and so they had to close down these big stores because they were losing money because of the gangs going through. Y'all remember that? If you're following this prophet and following this channel, you absolutely remember, because I've talked about it for years, that it had nothing to do with shrinkage, had nothing to do with the loss of goods, because companies budget that in their financial, plans every single year. There's not a corporation or company, a part of any corporation that does not have a shoplifting or loss budget. It's called shrinkage. So I knew, based off of my past experience and Yah's wisdom, of course, that it was just a excuse to get these big warehouses open because they had plans to fill them, but not with merchandise. At least not, what you would call, canned goods or how you say non-human merchandise. The only way I can say it. Yeah, they took the cans off the shelf because they're gonna put many of you on those shelves. Some alive, maybe some unalive. It just kind of depends what way you're gonna roll, what energy you walking in. If you walking in the energy that I know Yahuah is gonna protect me, but you don't keep His commandments, or you keep them to the level of where you're comfortable, well, they made room for you. There's room. What did they say in the Jesus story? There was no room in the inn. Well, there'll be room in the inn for you. You won't have to be in a manger, because Trump just approved 25 to 30 big box empty retail warehouses, distribution centers included, and they're gonna house anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 plus what he called immigrants, illegal immigrants. And for all you geniuses out there who want to say, well, I'm not an illegal immigrant. Well, there was a time you were. You might want to go back and take a look at, the Constitution. Let me help you out here. Where is it here? Let's go on a journey. Hallelujah. See if we can pull this up real quick. Nothing like a little history. You know what I'm saying? Get the blood stirring, right? Let's take a look at this. All of you Israelite citizens who have nothing to fear, because after all, you're not an immigrant. Well, let's talk about this. This is the Constitutional Bill of Rights, established in 1791. Let's go look at Amendment Chapter 13. It reads, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, means, locked up, or indigent servant, except as punishment for a crime, then you're a slave again, whereof the party shall be duly convicted, shall exist in the United States. No slavery or involuntary, in other words, they can't make you do something, except for punishment of a crime. Now, you might look and say, well, I'm not going to commit any crimes. Well, what if they change laws, and those laws say the thing that you're doing right now, like student debt, you didn't pay, is a crime? What if there are laws right now that says that, if you fall behind on a lease payment for a truck, vehicle, it's a crime? What if they go back and say all these IRS agents that they hired a few years ago under the Biden-Trump administration in the interchange, that they trained to use guns, that they say if you haven't paid your income taxes, or if they can find any fault in the non-payment of your income taxes, and now it is considered a federal crime, because it really is, according to their laws, that now you are no longer free, because guess what? You are in committance of a crime that exists within the United States or any other area subject to their jurisdiction. So you Puerto Ricans and you Jamaicans and other areas who America, called territories, protectorates, your asses too. Just, it's just a whatever. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to educate you. That's what we do here, teach, inform, and educate. And if that's not good enough for you, because you're not an immigrant, it says all persons born or naturalized in the United States are subject to the jurisdiction thereof, are citizens of the United States and the states wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or the immunities of the citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process so they can take your shit of the law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction, means anywhere in the United States considered their laws are protected of. So these such persons, then he goes on to talk about the rest of the rhetoric. Oh, and let's not forget this one here. One more. This is considered, and I know some of you are like, oh, this boring. Well, like I say, I'm just trying to tell you, whether or not you have something to fear, since, you don't feel like you have anything to fear, because, as what did Deuteronomy 12:8 say, brothers and sisters, that we're not supposed to be the way we used to be. We're not supposed to be doing whatever we want to do. Like many of these, I don't fear anybody. I don't fear nothing but the Creator. And I know He's got me. Well, that's only if you're totally obedient unto His laws. And I think we all would have to agree that don't apply to most of the people we see. And it doesn't apply to most of you. You just think it does because you want to project something on yourself that just does not exist in the kingdom of, maybe in the kingdom of men. Maybe your religion you carried over from, when you were some other religion and you brought this over here, and because you're an Israelite, flesh, that you just made a big giant assumption that what you practice and believed over there is equal to what you practice and believe over here, with some addendums, some adjustments. But you know what they say about assumptions, brothers and sisters? In the retail world, they say make an ass out of you and me when you break the word assume down. Assume. See, that's what it's metaphoric for, you making an ass out of you and me. So you can assume what you want to assume. You're entitled to your own opinions. But I can assure you, when it comes down to the facts, as it comes down to Yahuah's reasoning, well, that's another conversation that you had better be having with the prophet, to make sure that prophet is telling you Yah approves. But of course you won't hear that because you hate the prophets. Many of you, not all of you, but most do. That's clearly evident by your behavior when you get direction from the prophet. But let's pick this back up. Now, this is the Constitution of the United States. I'm still talking about immigration. I'm still talking about deportation. I'm still talking about who's considered a citizen and who isn't. I'm still talking about, who should have something to fear and who shouldn't. And I'm also talking about who is creating this fear. Yeah, that part. Because many of you would like to project that on Donald Trump. It's Donald Trump, or it's the governor of the United States, or it's these heathens. No, not really. But we'll get there. I contend that the generator of this fear that you don't feel, or you do feel, the progenitor of it is Yahuah. I contend that it's Him that you don't fear. I contend that it is Him that you do fear. But I also clearly want to proclaim neither the two matter, except just like these laws say, you are doing things that are not in or your behavior is not contrary to these laws, or anything that's not within the jurisdiction of these laws, just like the heathens say with their laws. I will say, I'm coming back to that. If you're doing anything that's how you say, in contention with these laws, then just like man laws can apply, Abraham felt the wrath of man's law. Haram did too. Daniel felt the wrath of man's law. Moses felt the wrath of man's law. Joseph, the prince, the 11th son of Yashua, he felt the wrath of man's law. Y'all don't remember that these men spent time in the penitentiary? And that the time they spent was harsh? They saw people die? They saw people had died in those places that they were in? So they knew that there was some teeth to men's law, even though, most of Yashrael, because you are caught up in witchcraft and sorcery, self-idolatry, you believe that no weapon formed against you is going to prosper. And I contend by the word of Yahuah, based off of what I've heard over the last 3 or 4 days, you have made one of the biggest errors in your entire, simple-minded life. You say to the simple, they would not listen to the wise. You have made the biggest error in that little simple head of yours. And you will live to regret it. Because just like they're going to institute their laws, because this is another part of this law, and this is the Constitution, all you American citizens. This is what it says. Article 1 of the Constitution. Now, we just said they're in the temporary protective services for the Haitians, and that's any of these, what you would want to call melanated groups of people of color. Not simply Israel, but any of them. Because you can be assured when they finish instituting the temporary protection laws and they're all out by the millions, and you Haitians, bye-bye, by the millions, or they're going to come back and reinforce this law. Check this out. This is the Declaration of Independence. Hallelujah. This is Article 1, Section 2. It reads, hallelujah, the House of Representatives shall be composed of members chosen every second year by the people of the several states. The electors in each state shall have qualifications or requisites of numerous branches of state and legislature. It goes on to say, no person shall be a representative who shall not have attained the age of 25 years old and have been 7 years a citizen of the United States. Now, this was all talking about white folks, just so you're clear. I'll get there. And who shall not, when elected, be an inhabitant of that state in which he shall be chosen. In other words, you can't live in Texas and run for office in Mississippi. Chapter 3, verse 3, this is the one. Representative and direct taxes, and we talked about income tax and student loan debt and mortgages or mortgage failures, any kind of tax that you owe for a country that's, deep in debt, trillions of dollars in debt, they come in to collect. As the old saying, I remember Raleigh and Boondocks, not Raleigh, Huey. No, Huey, right? No, Raleigh. So what he told Santa, when Santa didn't give him what he wanted for Christmas, and I know I'm talking heathens, garbage. What he told Santa in the Boondock, he said, Santa, you're going to pay what you owe. And he took out that little, pellet gun and lit Santa's ass up with them pellets. Some of y'all going to get lit up. And I'm going to tell you why. Some of you are already gone. The wicked flee with nobody. So, bye-bye. We ain't going to miss your ass. Section 3 says, representative and direct taxes shall be a portion among the several states which may be included within this union, talking about the United States, and its subsidiary countries, Puerto Rico, places like that. St. Thomas, all those places that's under United States, Jersey, the Philippines, all those places. Including those, what do you call them? The Samoans, Samoan Islands, all of Malaysia. Just so you know, you ain't getting out of this. he said, according to within this union, according to their representative numbers, which shall be determined by adding the whole number of free persons, including those bound to the term of service for a term of years. We just read about that. Those who are in prison or who can be placed in prison, that's bound by service for a term of years. And excluding Indians not taxed, and 3/5 of all other persons. The actual enumeration shall be made within 3 years after the first meeting, and it goes on to talk about the rest of what they established. But this 3/5, it was talking about our ancestors who were free people of color, who were not counted as citizens of the United States. Therefore, the 14th, amendment to the Constitution was written to say, if you're born in America, now you're American. They call them today, what they call them? Dreamers. Isn't that what Obama called them? Dreamers. Some call them anchor babies. Well, if you're a dreamer or you're an anchor baby, or you're a descendant of people who were not considered citizens, 3/5, not native, in other words, not white. I'm just telling you, get your bags packed. But then again, you won't need much because they're going to probably take all of that from you when they start processing you for all those things that I just mentioned that you think are just going to go away in a land of robbers and plunderers, thieves, murderers, savages that taught many of you to be just like them, to trust them and to be like them. Well, the chicken's going to come home to roost. Because see, once they get rid of all these so-called illegal immigrants, then they're going to go to the legal immigrants. And don't be surprised if somehow or another they go to their Constitution and figure out, well, you know something? Up until 1866, 1867, y'all wasn't citizens either. So what we're going to do is suspend the Constitution because we're going to go to martial law, which is suspending the Constitution. And these same ICE agents or these National Guardsmen or your militaries, whatever you want to call them, your local police, your sheriffs, your constables, your contact tracers, or your IRS trained, 87,000 military weapon trained agents will be knocking on your door since you think it's safe to stay in these cities. And they're going to give you an option. You say, what option, Elder? Come with them willingly, as Donald Trump said, you can do it, willingly, or come with them by force. What did Donald Trump say? You can do it the easy way, or you can do it the hard way. That's what he said. But either way, it's going to happen. Now, you see, if Israel had turned back to Yahuah and had listened to his prophets, we wouldn't have anything like that to fear. Because Yahuah would put a shield around us because what? We are being obedient. And that shield would protect us. Not because you think it's going to protect you. Not because you know the name of the Creator. Not because you're not in the streets anymore. Not because you cleaned up on the outside. But your inward parts are just still as bitter and jealous and hateful as it ever was. So when the chickens come home to roost, and when they finish, you know, how you say, getting rid of the illegals, then guess who's next? Guess who's up next, brothers and sisters? Enemies included, you too. Guess who's up next? Many of you. And I know you don't want to hear it, and I know you think that I'm hating on you. They always said that about the prophet. Because the prophet's job is not to come like you hear these, nothing to fear, we just got to trust, we just got to be bold now, we got to hold on tight, we got to keep on keeping on. We just got to trust. You know, we just don't let nobody make you afraid. Because Abba Yah, whatever name they will say other than Yahuah, and even those who say Yahuah, I know he's going to protect. Well, you might want to go read the scripture where it says, now unless you hear my prophet. Because I speak through him. And whatever he tell you is going to happen, it's going to happen. Did not Jonah warn Nineveh of what was going to happen? And then some of you say, well, the book of Jonah said, you know, they repented and Yah restored them for a little while. See, that's what Proverbs 29:1 says. Those who are often reproved, like Nineveh was, harden their necks like Nineveh did, Yahuah will destroy them suddenly, like the book of Tobit chapter 14 said he did. And there will be no repentance or remedy, no getting out of it, which actually happened. When Moses came in Exodus 32, and he came down, you know, from Sinai, and he saw that the people had laid down to sleep and got up to play, what did he tell the Levites? He said, those who are on Yahuwah's side, in other words, those who listening to me, Moses, you better come on over here with me. He said, but the rest of you who listening to yourselves, he told the Levites, the priest, kill them. 6,000 of them. Go read Exodus chapter 32. But while you're reading Exodus 32, I want you to read this in Exodus chapter 20. I'm just bringing it out because, like you say, you don't have nothing to fear. You know, these evictions, all of you who got this subsidized housing because you old, you know, and so they gave you tax breaks, you know, on your property taxes. You know, some of you renting from your landlords who you don't know are criminals, probably illegal aliens themselves, or temporary protective service themselves. When they tell them, you know, because your situation, we're going to confiscate your property. Means anybody in those properties, unless you own it, you're going to be in the streets. But you don't have to believe the prophet. Because Yahuah is talking to you. Right on a personal level is what you're saying. I hear you. More importantly, Yahuah hears you. Well, I want you to take a look at what he has to say here. Hallelujah. This is the book of Exodus, the Torah, chapter 20, verse 18. Now, and I would ask that all of you unafraid, you're just so bold because you're so righteous. And what I mean by bold and righteous, you're doing what you want to do. That's all I mean. You're doing what you want to do. You're saying Yahuah talks to you. I'm not even talking to the unbeliever over there, not you. This doesn't apply to you. All you other ites, Edomites, Perizzites, homosexualites, pedophile-ites, heathen mixing-ites, I ain't talking about you. This is for Yasharel. It says this, the book of Exodus chapter 20, verse 18. And all the people saw the thundering and the lightning and the noise of the shofar. You hear it. You'll hear it later on this evening if you're with us in the Tanakh study, because We have some meaty stuff tonight. You want to be there. But he says, again, verse 18, in our Torah, as the shofar, the noise of the shofar, he said, the people saw the mountain smoking. He said, when the people saw it, they ran and they stood afar off. They got out of harm's way, at least they thought they were. And, verse 19, and they said to Moses, now get this part, listen carefully. Those of you who have ears to hear, listen carefully. This is what it says. And Moses said unto the people, fear not, for Yahuah Elohim is come to prove you, to test you, and that his fear may go before your faces, that you sin not. You know what that means? That you sin not? Not? Okay. Somebody said, of course I knew. Okay. And the people stood afar off, as Moses drew near unto them. As Moses drew near unto them, the people again, they stood up. Let me go back to verse 19. I missed a part of here. And they said unto Moses, you speak with us, and we will hear you. But let not Yahuah speak with us, lest we die. That part. Now the people were wise enough to know they needed the prophet to represent them. I ain't talking about no Jesus lie. That's where they stole that from, Jesus, the mediator of foolishness, Yahuah. That's a lie. This is the truth. They knew that if Yahuah was talking directly to them, any little sin would cause them to be killed. A mole on your face, a flat nose, a flat ass, unclean crotch, spewing your semen on the ground. Yah would strike them dead, and they knew it. And they said, no, so Moses, we don't want to talk to Yahuah. You talk to Yahuah. Because if we talk to Yahuah, he will kill us. And how many of you out there now talking about you talking to Yahuah? Here they clearly said to Moses. Again, I'll read 19 to you in case you missed it. Maybe you were asleep. Isn't that what Elijah told the prophets of Baal? Where's your Elohim? Asleep? Is he on a long journey? Maybe you distracted. So let me say this to you again. And they said to Moses, speak with us, and we will hear. But let not Yahuah speak with us, lest we die. But if you go over to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 18, we got to have the witnesses. It reads this. Look at verse 16. The people assembling together according to all that you desire of Yahuah and Cherith, the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of Yahuah, neither let me see this great fire anymore, the mountain and the fire that Exodus was talking about, that I die not. And then Yahuah said, okay, I'm going to raise up to them a prophet from among their brethren, like unto you, Moses, and I will put my words in your mouth, or their mouth, and he shall speak, or they shall speak unto all of them that I command him. And it shall come to pass that whoever will not listen to that prophet, which he shall speak in my name, I will deal with those people harshly. This is why Moses said to the people in Exodus, said, well, if you listen to me, you have nothing to fear. But if you're doing what you want to do, that's something totally different. But to make sure that no one accuses me of misinterpreting or misrepresenting scripture, let's go over to Deuteronomy chapter 12. Oh, I've been thinking for the last days. I've been before Yahuah. I've been listening. Intensively, quiet. That's what I mean. I always listen. But I've been quiet. Because he was telling me something. He said, don't you know that Yahshua hates me? He said, yeah, you love him. He was talking to me. He said, yeah, DFG, you love Yahuah. You love your people. You always have. He said, but those people that you love, they don't love me. Therefore, until you get it in your heart to stop loving those who don't love me, then you are going to sit there and suffer because you don't understand why they don't. Because you want to project your heart upon them, and they're not you. Because they want to do whatever they want to do, not what I say unto you to tell them to do. And if you had any questions about this, let's look at Deuteronomy chapter 12. Look at verse 8. And this is Yahuah warning the people. He says this: you shall not do after all the things that we do here this day. Every man whatsoever is right in his own eyes. I'll read that to you again. He said, you have no business doing whatever is right in your own eyes. In other words, what you think is right, including lying on him. And yes, he said there will be people who will lie and say he said and he did not say. And he said, yeah, they better be afraid. Not of what Trump or whatever government you're under on this earth. He said, your government is not your problem. Temporarily, for some of you. But Yahuah plays not only short game, brothers and sisters, if I can use that term, he played a long game too. See, he'll destroy you today and then kill you 5 years from today. He'll destroy you, 7, 10, 12 years, whenever he woke you up to the truth, but you decided to hold on to whatever part of yourself that you chose to hold on to, just like he said here, what was right in your eyes. See, he'll let you get away with it for 5, 10, 15, however many years, and then all of a sudden, suddenly, you're going to get a knock on the door. And they're not going to ask you to open the door. They're going to tell you to open that door. And if you refuse to open that door, let's go over here to 4 Ezra, chapter 15. So we got to keep this true. We got to keep this clean. And we got to use Yahuah's word. It don't matter what you think, how anybody feels. What matters is what Yahuah says from the mouth of, yes, his prophet, which I know some of you don't like to hear that part. But you ain't changing Yahuah. Book says Yahuah does not change. But in Malachi 3 and 6 say Yahuah does not change. That's why some of us are not going to be destroyed, because some of us are actually going to be obedient. But 90% of us, no way. But this is what he said. Look at 4 Ezra chapter 15, verse 19. And a man shall have no pity on his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with their guns and take their goods because of a lack of bread and for great tribulation. Verse 14 says, woe to the world and them that dwell in. Woe, woe to the world. Woe to the world and them that dwell in. For the sword, the guns, weapon, and their destruction draws near. And one people shall stand up and fight against another. And their hands are their weapons, with their weapons in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men. You know what sedition is? Civil war. Martial law. Chaos, mayhem. All over the place. You see it happening. He said it's going to be sedition amongst men, invading one another. And they shall not regard kings or princes. In the course of their actions shall stand in their power, doing what they want to do. Anybody doing what they want to do. And a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, Because their pride, because the pride of the people in the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and the men shall be what? Afraid. It says the men going to be afraid. So what do you think about the women? If the men are going to be afraid, the women are going to be terrified. See, this would await the rebellious of Yasharel. But because of the lies and the misinterpretation of Yah's word of false prophets, and those of you who think that somehow or another Yahuah is talking to you on some personal level, and he just said right here, He said, I'm going to go to my prophet. I read it to you already. Shouldn't have to keep on reading the same thing to someone that's not in rebellion. But then again, if you rebel, the rebellious, you say what? They're gonna be stubborn. They're gonna be resistant. They're gonna be insistent. They're gonna do what they want to do. It doesn't matter what the prophet says. They will justify it. What did Zechariah say? The wicked slay the righteous, and they never hold themselves accountable. Sister Jackson talked about people who were with us at one time, and these people, for whatever justification, rationalization, accusations, are gone. And she wondered why. It was on a post from a couple of days ago. And I read it and I saw it. I could have easily answered the question. She didn't have to ask me to respond to a post. Along with that post, her response, was a righteous response in terms of what the message was about. She was just asking the question. She wasn't accusing anybody. She wasn't saying anybody was going to hell. She didn't say nothing like that. She just said, what happened to you? What happened to them? Well, sister, I know what happened to them. They heard something they didn't like, or they got rebuked, they got corrected. Those who are often reproved, they harden their necks, and then they what? Yahuah said what? They shall be what? Suddenly destroyed, and there will be no remedy. That's the answer to your question. That's the answer to the question, brothers and sisters. And therefore, he said the men are going to be afraid. And he said what? The daughters of Zion, he said most of them are going to be homeless. So you're going to be in the streets. The book literally says the desolation is going to be so horrific. You ain't going to have no man. You're going to be left to the animals to survive like an animal. Now, this is the book. You can say whatever you want to say. I'm telling you what the book says. Let's go over to the book of Isaiah chapter 6. You can fight against you, and that's what he was telling me all this week. Say, you're fighting with these people like you're in a fight with them. Say, these people are fighting me, not you. So stop taking it so personal. I didn't want to believe it until I had to believe it. Now I believe it. Look what Isaiah chapter 6 says here. He said what? In verse 11. And then said Yahuah, how long? And he answered, or then I said unto Yahuah, how long? This is Isaiah. And he answered, until the cities be wasted without an inhabitant, and the houses without a man, and the land be utterly destroyed. Houses without a man. What do you think that means? And men being afraid, sedition in the streets, can't go in the cities, no one to protect you. The law wants to put you in cages, FEMA camps, which they claim don't exist. But I'm gonna put in, in the comment section, they claim, oh, there's no such thing as a FEMA camp. It's a conspiracy. But yet you got 1,500 prisons in America with over 2,000 people locked up. So I think that's a difference without a distinction. Would you all agree with that? I think they're splitting hairs. They didn't hire 87,000 IRS agents over the last 2 or 3 years and give them guns for no reason. They plan on collecting from somebody, something. They didn't hire contact tracers. Y'all forgot. I don't forget. You know, contact tracers is your neighbor who lives upstairs, or your neighbor that lives downstairs, or your neighbor who lives across the street, who are watching everything that you do as you come and go, know what you drive, know who you live with, know everything about what happens, where you go, what time you leave, what time, do you come outside, do you don't come outside, whatever. And they're reporting on you. They got a little log that they keep, and you don't know anything about it. And when the time comes, they got to report, because they got to justify their pay. It's a job, believe it or not. Contact tracers are, it's a job. They hired thousands of them, brothers, during the time of COVID. See, we thought it was all about, you know, if you cough, somebody come into your house. It was bigger than that. They always, you know, lie. They tell you it's one thing when it's really something else. This is why you need the prophet. That's why Yahuah said to us, what? Shall there be a secret and I not reveal it to the servant, my servant, his servant, the prophet? His servant, not your servant. His servant, the prophet. Any prophet that's, how you say, that acquisition down to what any person thinks, that's not Yahuah's prophet. Those are lying prophets. Those prophets prophesy for gain, influence, power, resources. Yahuah's prophets, they only speak what he say to them. And they don't consider how anybody feels. That's not his job, to worry about how people feel. The job of a prophet is to say, thus says Yahuah, I am warning you, Israel, and the rest of the world who chooses to pay attention, which most won't. But this is what he said about the daughters of Zion. This is Isaiah chapter 3, verse 23. He said, your glasses and all your fine linen, all that nice stuff you got that you don't care about. Your changeable, matter of fact, let's go verse 21. He said, your rings, this is all your jewelry, your nose, little thing in your nose. You know how they got the thing in your nose now. All your little jewelry, your nose jewelry included. You know, that's why, again, so many things identify Israel. Your changeable suits of apparel, stuff you wear, stuff you like to wear, stuff you're comfortable in, your cloaks, your bells, your pocketbooks, handbags, your glasses, your fine linen, you know, stuff you like to set up when company come, your china cat, you know, all that stuff. The hoods, your veils, your hats, your scarves. It shall come to pass that instead of a sweet smell, say you're going to stink. Then he goes on, now Yahuah is saying this. Daughters of Zion, Yahuah is saying this. He says, instead of a sweet smell, you're going to stink. Instead of a belt, you know what I'm saying, a tear. A rag, instead of a well-set hair, say your hair gonna start falling out. Alopecia, hair grafts, you know what they call it, hair implants you're gonna need. But none of it's gonna work. It's gonna fall out. It's gonna thin out. It's a warning. Instead of a stomach, a girding sack, instead of, you know, and burning instead of beauty, I mean, you're going to get skin diseases, rashes, cancer of the skin. Watch. Skin irritation. Yahuah is not a liar. He said this is going to happen. Then he goes on to say, and your men shall fall by the sword, which we just talked about that, and your mighty men in war. That's why there's not going to be any men left, unless they're that righteous remnant. He goes on to say, and her glasses she shall lament, in her gates, this is wherever she resides, wherever you are, in your tent, outdoors, wherever you be, since you don't care anyway. She said, you're going to be lamenting, you're going to suffer and mourn. And she'll be desolate. And she's going to sit on the ground. Sit on the ground. What did that mean? You're going to be homeless. Yahuah's not playing with us, brothers and sisters. So yeah, you don't have to fear him, but you should fear him. I don't fear no man. Do you fear Yahuah? Because if you fear Yahuah, you would obey his word. You would obey this Torah, and you damn sure would understand he ain't talking directly to you. He's going to do what he said he's going to do. And he says, I'm going to speak to my prophet, and my prophet is going to speak to you. And some of our people are so ignorant, oh, they ain't no more prophets. But these are the same ignorant folk who came out of Christianity. Well, the book of Ephesians says, chapter 4 said there will be prophets and apostles and evangelists, etc. Even the heathen know there will be prophets in these last days. But you want to contend with Yahuah by contending with me, his spokesperson. As though he's not recording every single thing you thought and did and said and respond to what is being said. Or not responding to what is being said. For all of you who refuse to help me share this work by thumbing up these videos so that other people can hear the word. But yet you say you love Yahuah, but you don't care about your brethren, you don't care about your sisters, you only care about yourself. So therefore you refuse to help with the work of Yahuah. But you profess that you love Yahuah with all your heart, all your mind, and all your strength. Well, then I'm going to say something to you. You might want to go read the book of Joshua. As a matter of fact, you don't have to go. I'll go. You listen. Because you don't like to hear the prophet. So you can just, I guess you'll do whatever you want to do. But this is in this book, whether you want to read it or not. This is what Yasharel told Joshua, a prophet that followed after Moses. This is what the people, Yasharel, told Joshua. People like who you claim are supposed to be, and many of you are not. This is what they said. And this is Joshua chapter 1, verse 16. And they answered Joshua, saying, all that you command us, we will do. Wherever you send us, we will go. So all you, I don't listen to nobody but God devils, you are a liar. Or you being lied to and you believing lies. And I realize nothing's going to change your mind. That's why Yahuah told me to step back for a moment. Stop caring about those who don't care about me, like he told King Jehoshaphat. What did he tell Jehoshaphat? 1 Chronicles chapter 19. What did he tell him? Jehoshaphat, why do you love those who do evil and hate me? And many of you say, well, how you say I hate? Well, you serving yourself. You're doing what you want to do. I just showed you in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 8. Yahuah said we're not supposed to be doing that anymore. We're not supposed to be doing what we think is right anymore. We're supposed to be following what the prophet said. He said in that case, whoever it is. In that case, it was Moses. In this case, it's Joshua. Right now, it's me. And you have a problem with it. It just makes you want to shit yourself because you just hate the fact that you might have to listen to a prophet. But it doesn't matter because, again, prophecy is going to be fulfilled without your permission and without your submission. I'm going to say it to you again. Yah's word is true without your submission, and he's not seeking your permission. He doesn't care about if you submit to it or not, and he don't care if you want to hear it or not. He's not looking for your approval. This word is established, brothers and sisters. This is already written long before you were formulated in your mother's womb. This word was here. It hasn't changed for any of our ancestors through the span of time. And you somehow or another think that you are the exception. Then you are a fool. It says a fool have eyes but they cannot see, says Jeremiah. A fool will not listen to the word of Yahuah, says Jeremiah. A fool. Say, what a foolish nation, what a foolish people. Read Jeremiah 5:21, if you dare to. But then look what they told Joshua. Again, Joshua chapter 1, verse 16. And he answered Joshua, saying, all that you command us, we will do. Whatsoever, wherever you send us. God, look at that. If Joshua say, come here, they coming. Joshua say, go there, they're going. Joshua say, stop doing this and start doing it. They stop doing that and start doing this. This is what the righteous do. And then it said, according as we listen unto Moses, you notice they're saying Moses, not Yahuah. Says, according as we listen unto Moses in all things, not just in the things you agree with, in all things, this is what Deuteronomy said, we're not supposed to do how we feel. We don't put passion, your feelings, over reasoning Yah's Torah. We'll talk. If you want to learn more about that, be with us tonight. If you don't, then keep doing what you're doing. The prophecy ain't going to change. But he said, according to as we listen to Moses and everything, whatsoever he said, so will we listen unto you. Only Yahuah be with you as he was with Moses. And whosoever he be that rebels against your commandments, Joshua, the prophet, we will not hearken, or those who will not listen unto your words, Joshua, the prophet, and all that you command them, Joshua, or the prophet, he shall be put to death. Only be strong and don't be afraid of anybody, prophet. Don't let your feelings get in the way of Yahuwah's judgment. Don't let relationship with old brothers and sisters cause you to fail right now. See, Yahuwah, he's going to separate the wheat from the chaff, as they say. See, because he's going to try them through the fire, as the word says. Zechariah talks about that. He said, well, 2/3 of our people are going to get tried through the fire, and they're not going to make it. They're not going to survive themselves. I didn't mean survive themselves like when the war and the diseases and the famine and the contact tracers and the IRS or whatever else they come to throw you in these camps. No, that's not the survival I'm talking about. I'm talking about you're not going to survive your own self. You're going to be the reason you got destroyed. Not Trump, not the government, not your cousin, not the prophet. No, you. That's why he said 2/3 will be tried through the fire and they won't make it. And then he said 1/3 will be refined like silver and gold. I mean, there's going to be continual challenges to make sure that you say what you mean and you meant what you say. All you covenant breakers, talking about you. You made a covenant before Yahuwah, and he don't break covenants. That's what he does do. But you broke the covenant. And you found your own reasoning. You lean to your own understanding, is what that means. You found your own justification. However you want to reason, it doesn't matter what your reasoning is. You think Yahuwah cares about why you did not do what you committed to do? You really think that you can go for him and say, well, I would have stayed, I would have been with him, but they didn't want me there. That's not going to save you. See, some of you think like little children, simple-minded. That's not going to save you. You're not going to be able to go to Yahuwah and blame somebody else for the decision you made. You're not going to be able to go to Yahuwah and blame somebody else for the decision they made. I mean, you got people out there, brothers and sisters, they love the story of, Ruth and Naomi. But see, there's a little part in that story with Ruth and Naomi where Naomi told Ruth to go back to your people, to the Moabites. Say, go back to your people. I don't have nothing for you. I don't have no more sons, and go home. Now she pretty much rejected Ruth. Read the book. She rejected Ruth. Naomi did. But what did Ruth say? Well, since you said that, and since you don't want me around, and since this or since that, then I'm gonna go with my sister, and we're out, and and I'm just gonna tell Yahuah, and Yahuah knows my heart. That's not what Ruth said. Ruth said, I don't care what you say, Naomi. I'm coming. She said, wherever you go, just like they told Joshua, I'm gonna be with you. Whoever you serve, just like they told Joshua, I'm serving them too. I'm sure some of you daughters of Zion remember that part, but that's the part you carefully, hid, in your little jewelry box. Because you feel like, well, I don't wear that anymore, but I held on to it. See, the word of Yahuah is a powerful word. It's like they said, the earthquake. That's why the people say in that mountain, we read it already in Exodus, when they heard the mountain started to smoke, the fury of Yahuah. And they were like, oh, no, settle. Moses. We need you. But in rebellion today, not Joshua, no, I don't need nobody. Because I got Yahuah. No, that's that Christianity that's in you that told you that, because you definitely need somebody. See, a lot of Israel is in perversion, brothers and sisters. They're in perversion. They really think that they are in an intimate relationship with the Creator. Intimate. Like they're his woman or his bride or his servant. Why do Yahuah need you to be his servant when he made you on his earth? If he wanted you to be his servant, he would have made you an angel. He wouldn't have given you flesh. He wouldn't have given you a soul. He said, no, I put you down here for mankind. I ain't put you down here for me. But they want to, in their perversion, they say, I don't care what the word say. I don't care what the prophets say. I'm in my own little private relationship. Perverted with the Creator. Yet the same Creator that you want to be in a relationship with, personal relationship with, he said clearly, I didn't make woman for the angels. I made women for men. So woman, where's your man? That's what the book says. Okay, let's go with the book of Enoch. I just showed you they're going to follow Yah's prophet. This is what the righteous ones are going to do. But let's go over to the book of Enoch chapter 15. So you don't fear nobody. I don't fear nobody but Yahuah. Well, if you fear Yahuah, you would obey his commandments. So sorry, that's not going to get you out of the mess that you didn't put yourself in. You didn't talk yourself right into hell, many of you. Or you talking yourself right into that fire since you don't believe in hell. But look at this. This is Exodus chapter 15. Verse 2. Wherefore you have forsaken the holy heaven, the lofty holy heaven. He's talking to the angels, to those of you who want to say Yahuah is doing something with you, and it's between you and him, you and Yahuah, which endures forever, and have laid with a woman, and have defiled yourself with the daughters of men, and have taken to yourselves women, and acted like the sons of the earth, and have begotten giants. You being spiritual holy, talking to the angels, possessing a life which is eternal, have polluted yourself with women, and have begotten in carnal blood, have lusted in the blood of men, and have done as those with flesh and blood do, meaning mankind, including you women. These, however, die and perish, meaning mankind. The soul that sin is going to die. Therefore, I have given them the women, that they cohabit with them, that the sons might be born to them, men, women, that this might be transacted upon the earth. But you have, from the beginning, were made spiritual, meaning Yahuah is, we know, is a spirit, possessing a life which is eternal. We know Yahuah is eternal, and is not subject to death forever, which we know he is infinitive. Therefore, I made not a woman for you, being spiritual, dwelling. Your dwelling is in heaven. Yahuah said, my dwelling is in the heavens. My servants, the one I want serving me, are with me in the heavens. So how could he go against his own word by telling any daughter of Zion or any man of Zion that you don't need nobody but him? How? That does, it's profanity. It's a pervert. You are perverting Yahuah. That is blasphemous behavior. And you really think that he's going to change, although the scriptures say, I don't change. Talking about Yahuah. I said, I'm going to give you prophets. You listen to the prophet. You say you don't have to listen to nobody. Or you come up with your own rationalization on why you don't have to listen to anybody. Brothers and sisters, that is a death sentence if there ever was one. You don't feel Yahuah thinking like that. A person that feels Yahuah obeys everything that Yahuah says. And he doesn't talk to any of them or anybody directly. He talks to his prophet. It's exactly why the situation in the book of Exodus, when the people told him, we can't talk to Yahuah. We don't want Yahuah talking to us because we're going to end up getting killed because there's something we're going to do that's going to upset him and he's going to destroy us for it. We saw it with Saul. We saw it with Moses. We saw it with many of the prophets. Little marginal things, small things. What does the book says? It's the small foxes that spoil the vine. It's those little things that you think is no big deal because you say, well, a righteous man may fall, but a righteous man does not go against Yahuah's Torah. A righteous woman don't go against the Torah. When a righteous woman falls, that's just her in human error, and she corrects it. She repents like a man would have to do as well, and she does whatever suffrage she has to do, contrition, and she becomes submissive, super submissive, so that it never, ever happens again, and she doesn't look for excuses to justify her bitterness. He doesn't look for excuses to justify his envy or his jealousy or his pettiness. Like most men are. Very jealous, excuse making, and you're petty. You're tender, delicate, because you're a cursed man when you hate your brother without a cause. And there is no cause that you should be hating your brethren except that hatred aligns with that brethren violating this Torah. Not because you're in your feelings, dude. Well, he ain't called me, so I ain't gonna call him. Oh, now he called himself a king. He ain't no king. Oh, he say he a prophet. He ain't no prophet. He just an elder. Oh, he ain't no elder. I'm just gonna call him Brother Dale. All rebellion. But you're not the first. You didn't perfect the art of being rebellious. You're just a participant in it. There's a long line of you, brother, a long line of you who do what you want to do. You're not the first. You might be the last, but you're not the first. This book clearly says, obey my prophet. And nothing in there says he's going to deal with you one-to-one. So I'm going to deal with Moses one-to-one, Joshua, DFG one-to-one. And when they come back and bring forth to you what I said, if you want to be blessed, you better listen. But just like coordinate them in the Abiram said to Moses, Moses, we don't care about what you're talking about. We're just as special as you are. We're just as holy as you are. We're from Levi, we're from Reuben, we're Israelites just like you are. Well, I guess somebody forgot to tell Yahuah. See, many of you talking all this talk you talking, you better remember, that's you, that's not Yahuah. I guess I'll say to you, somebody forgot to tell Yahuah that you do what you want to do whenever you want to do it, as it relates to what a man tells you to do. In other words, as it relates to Yahuah's prophet, let me be clear, tells you to do. But you fear Yahuah. I don't fear no man, but I fear Yahuah. If you fear Yahuah, you would obey this word. Like Moses said, the words I'm speaking, these ain't my words. It's Yahuah telling me to tell you. I say to you all the same thing. Yeah, my love and my compassion is me, but this word that I bring forth to you, this is Yahuah's word. I don't have no Torah of my own. There's no DFG version of the Bible. There could never be, because I would never be stupid enough to profane Yahuah's word like these heathens have done. With all their, their redemptions. I think I said that right. You know, the NIV, the new KV, or KJV. You know, the ones they use to tell lies of, that they've, cleverly changed meaning of certain words to justify wicked behavior. Because see, that's what many in Yahshua does. They'll go to one of those books and they'll pervert the word, or find a book that says how their version of it. This is why they teach that in the churches. Dow, Jennings, all of them, Bryant's, every last one of them. You notice they have all of the camps, GMS, all of them got all these different versions. When they're teaching, you notice they'll go from one to another to find the one that best fit what they wanted to say, not what Yahuah is saying. See, that's Israel. That's most of Israel in your behavior. You're doing the version of the truth that you are comfortable with, not what Yahuah said. But you fear Yahuah. How so? When the book clearly says, I'm going to send you a prophet from among your brothers, like unto yourself, and I want you to listen to him, and if you refuse to listen to him, I'm going to hold you accountable for not listening. And a part of that accountability is I'm going to stop talking to you altogether. I'm going to stop correcting you altogether. And I'm going to leave you to your own desolation. And when you cry out for me, I'm not going to hear you. When you come to me to repent, I'm not going to hear you. Just like it was in the days of Noah. Remember, Noah was a prophet. He warned the people too. And they blew him off. Except for 8 people and those who Yahuah took the year before. They didn't blow him off. They listened to him. And Yahuah saved them. He didn't even want them to go through, the horror and the terror that was coming upon the earth. He spared them of that. It's interesting. Some of you heard about Lamar. Y'all know Sanford and Son, his son Lamar, Demond Wilson. I was looking at this heathen. He was on his heathen program not long ago. And as you know, he died. And he was talking about Christ this and Christ. If you know that, he called himself being a pastor and all this stuff. Well, do you know that Demond Wilson saw the videos created by DFG-End Messenger? There was a person that I knew that knew him personally, has been around him, saw him slip her his hotel number while he was fully married. He worked in security. picked him up from the airport, took him out to dinner, gave her his room key. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So this righteous. Anyway, so Mr. Wilson Lamont Sanford is on this program probably 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and he's got cancer. And this little heathen devil, Rashad, Gathering of Christ Church, all of you over there who following him, told that man in his school, his they have their little Bible class that they charge you to go to. Here, all you got to do is just stand with me. If you're righteous, help with the work, but that's your decision. But you ain't charged for it. He charged you for the Bible study that you can get here Wednesday night at no charge. But anyway, that's neither here nor there either, I guess. But it needs to be stated. So he interviewing Demond Wilson. And Demond Wilson is talking about this cancer and how Yahuah has saved him and talking about this long life he did. And he went all over the place in his home in Bel Air and his children and his grands. He's just going on and on. But Christ saved me. This damn man started crying, brothers and sisters. But I'm bold. And this little wicked devil, Rashad, said, well, I know somebody. And this is not allegedly. This devil said it. I know somebody called himself doing a memorial to Demond Wilson. I know somebody who got herbs and they can give you all these herbs and they'll walk and try to take these herbs and and I'm going to be praying for you and give you all this stuff. As soon as we get off this call, I'm going to read. He said, okay, give it to me. But I'm brave because Jesus is going to save me. But I'm brave, but Jesus is going to save me. That's some of you right there. Like them tears are going to keep his ass out of hell. All that herbs he was taking, if he ever got them, didn't save him from Yah's judgment. And all those prayers by that wicked so-called elder over there, Yahuah didn't listen to those prayers. Wilson is dead. And he cried. I know you might think I'm being cruel to laugh, man. I'm not being cruel. I'm like, wait a minute. You believe in an Elohim that when it comes time for you to die, you're crying? But I'm trusting him. But I'm trusting him. You crying? A righteous remnant is crying because he got to leave here to go be with Yahuah. This devil almost 80 years old. And I'm calling him a devil because he's a devil worshiper. If you worship in Yahuah or Yahuah or Yahushua or Jesus, whatever name you call him, you're nothing but a devil pagan. You're a heathen demon worshiper. So you're damn right I'm calling him what he is, a goddamn pagan devil. And he's going and he's in hell right now. And he's screaming and hollering. And I know he is because the book says that he is, brothers and sisters. And the same thing going to happen to many of you, by the way. And your tears ain't going to save you. Too late. He heard me. He heard the message. He rejected those messages. And I know he rejected those messages because he still was talking about Christ and Yahushua. He even said the name Yahushua. He even said Yahuah. See, this is not a game. Because see, you Christian non-Christians, you really think that you could just pervert Yahuwah's word based off your, your taste, your flavor, what makes you, feel good. You are lying to yourself. But the book says you show up for the word, you want to hear the word, but you ain't going to do the word unless that word is something you already doing. But Yahuah forbid if that goes against something that you're currently doing because you don't want to stop doing it. You're not going to stop doing it. You harden your heart. And that's why he said, those who harden their hearts, what? Well, y'all say, I'm going to stop. They're going to cover up their ears. When they hear this word, they're going to cover up their ears, the part they don't want to hear. And he said, what? I'm going to destroy them suddenly, and they will never be allowed to be repentant. He had a chance. But he was too important, too self-absorbed, like many of you. Too self-absorbed. You just got to be right. You can't take wrong for nothing. If you were a baseball player, you would quit the game because your average is 900. You mad. Now, if you know anything about baseball and you're a batter and you got a 900 average, you're probably the best baseball player that ever played the game of baseball, at least as far as a hitter is concerned. But because it's not 100% your way, you don't want to have anything to do with it. And somehow or another, you think Yahuah is keeping, a scorecard to say, okay, she did a lot of this right. He did a lot of that right. But these one or two little things over here, it's okay. You are lying to yourself. That is not when a righteous man falls 7 times, Yahuah lift him up. When it talks about a righteous man falling 7 times, that means that person is obeying Yahuah's Torah, and for whatever reason, there was some type of, interference, exception or something, and they fixed that interference. They fixed that because they were repentant, they were contrite, and they not only did that, they also went out and told other people and got engaged and stopped being selfish and started helping. That's what that means when they say a righteous man falleth 7 times and Yah picks him up. This is why Yahuah said, even though David had that issue with Uriah, Yahuah said he still died a righteous man because David in Psalm 51 made it crystal clear that he was repentant. And he not only confessed his fault, he also turned around and said, I am going to make sure that everybody understands not to do what I did. Not I'm going to continue in my way. Y'all just going to have to wink at me. He's going to have to make an exception for me. Because he knows my heart. Man. Jeremiah already told you about your heart. He said your heart is desperately wicked, deceitful. So you're deceiving yourself thinking that way is what he's saying. You say, I don't judge a man by what he says. I judge a man by what he does. What is contrition without fruit to validate you're contrite? And what could, think about it, brother. So can you imagine someone among us with all of these human, shortcomings that feel like they don't have to repent? For nothing? That's a person marked for damnation. They're marked for damnation that they don't feel no reason to be contrite. I ain't do nothing. That's them. But here's the destiny. See, I said a lot, but I was going somewhere. I spent the last almost 4 days quiet intentionally while I did a post. Because I needed to hear what Yahuah was telling me about me as it relates to how I feel about you. And what he was telling me, you care too much about them. He was saying to me, why do you love those who hate me? My son, my prophet, my watchman. So for the last 4 days, I had to get over my own, I guess what I would call depression. Not depression, like, oh, I'm in the bed, can't get out the bed. No. My own, feeling of, well, Yah, they're not listening to you, even though I'm trying my best to warn them, trying my best to inform them, trying my best to educate them on what is truth and what is lies, and they're not listening. And Yahuah said, did I tell you they would listen? Or did you tell yourself that? And finally, as of last night, I recognized that I had told myself that. So I was wanting everybody to make it, brothers and sisters. And you'll tell me, no, some of these people, most of these people that you're talking to, they already marked for damnation. They're going to hear the word, but they're not going to do it. So why do you think I wrote that? Why is it in the book, son, if you think that's not going to happen? So yeah, there will be women in rebellion who say they're not rebellious. There will be men in rebellion who say they're not rebellious. That's why he said they do evil, but they don't hold themselves accountable for that evil because they don't even think it's evil. Because it's how they feel. And they feel based off of how they feel that the creator of all things should take that into consideration. And he said, I don't and I won't. And so for all of you out there who are listening, for those of you out there who care about where you're going to spend eternity, let me share something with you. I've already talked about the 300,000, Haitians going to get thrown out here. If you got HUD housing, the contact tracers know you where you are. And guess what? If your landlord or whatever, they may be from another country. And they may have gotten it through illegal means, that place you live. And then you better hope they didn't. Because the chicken's coming home to roost. And all you so-called, Israelites who, I ain't no immigrant. I'm a citizen of America. Well, you aren't always a citizen of America. I just read that to you. There was a time you were an immigrant. And you weren't a slave. You were called a free man of color, a free woman of color, or Indian not taxed. Yeah, some of us were classified as Native Americans, but we were Israelites. Guess what? They're going to pull this book back out. And they're going to count American as European, white. Mark it. You don't have to believe me, but Brother Dennis will tell you, Mendez, I told him years ago that they were closing these warehouses down to make them concentration camps. It happened. I said when it was coming. A year ago, look what's going on right now all over this earth. Talking about the Torah and the horror, the absurdity, the violence, the wickedness, the lies, the sorcery. I'm saying to you, just like the Webster Dictionary, which I have up here, somewhere over there, hallelujah. Let me get that for you real quick. See, I'm not asking you to just take my word for something. I'm just saying to you, if you care, then you'll listen. If you don't care, you won't listen. What did the book say what did Enoch 91:16 say to the simple, to the wise, you would not listen? Therefore, Yahuah said, I'm going to mark you for damnation. You. This is the Webster Dictionary. See that number right up here? 1828. It may look backwards on your screen, but that's 1828 when this was actually written. Definition of American. That's what we're going to look for. Okay, hallelujah. I'm just going to show you if you think you're an American. Since the Constitution is going to protect you, sister, we'll see about that. But American. Now, I don't expect you to be able to see this, but I'm going to try to put it close enough to the screen that you can see this. See right there where it's highlighted? If you can read that, what does that say? Read it. America. The Aboriginal copper-colored native people who were here before the European came, copper color, that's my complexion. Look at my skin tone. Many of your skin tone too, Israelites. Before the European came, who later became what? The Europeans. You see it? Now, you can play the heathen game with these heathens if you want to. But you're going to end up being a house nigga for long in the prison camps, not in the house where you live. Some of y'all practice already. You're well prepared for it. You've been training for years. But others, you might want to get ready. Because it's coming. Except Yahuah has put you and protected you, it's coming. Because look, I'm going to go, come with me over, brothers and sisters, to the book of 2nd Baruch, chapter 15. This is how it reads. 2nd Baruch. If you want to know where I'm reading from the Cypher Bible. If you need to get one, cypher.net. You can get it right there online, okay? 2nd Baruch chapter 15. And Yahuah answered and said unto me, talking about Baruch. Baruch was a prophet. He was with Jeremiah. If you go into the book of Jeremiah, you'll see Jeremiah and Baruch were working together. Jeremiah was like a senior prophet, and Baruch was like being mentored by Jeremiah. And they were told to bring something to the king. This was part of what they were told to give to the king. And they said, when you give it to the king, I want you and Jeremiah to go run and get out of town. Because when the king read this, he is coming looking for you. And so for all of you over there talking about Yahuah going to watch you and Yahuah is going to protect you, then you tell me why he told Baruch and Jeremiah to run from the city. Run from the government is what he told them to do. And that's quote unquote. And if you've been with us in study, you know that is 100% what he told them to do. While you over there talking about Yahuah going to protect you where you are. But that's what happens when you can't be corrected, when you start to take the words and pervert them to what you want the word to say. But I'm still going to say, my job is to warn you. But just to qualify who Baruch is, if you didn't know Baruch is a real prophet, go read the book of Jeremiah. He's there. And Yahuah answered and said unto me, Baruch, you are rightly astonished regarding the departure of men. He said, you're rightly astonished. He said, you see all this stuff that's happening with these people who are perverting my word, running from my word, conflating my word, saying that, I'm with them and I'm not with them. But you have not judged well regarding the evils which shall befall those who sin. He's telling the prophet, you haven't judged this the right way. See what he was telling me. Say, DFG, you're not judging this the right way. You're judging this on how you feel about people. You need to judge this based off of how I feel about people, meaning Yahuah. He goes on to say, verse 3, and as regards to what you have said, that the righteous are carried off and the impious are prospered. Impious means those who doing whatever they want to do, succeeding in it. Say, as regards, what they doing what they want to do, not what Yahuah said. That's the impious. It's another word for arrogance. And as regards, what was one of the meanings of arrogance? As regards what you have said, man knows not your judgment on this account here, and I will speak to you and listen, and I will cause you to hear my words. This is Yahuah talking to him, to Baruch, as he was talking to me over the last 4 days. Say, man would not rightly have understood my judgment unless he had accepted the Torah. Not the New Testament, not the Quran, not any book, not Babylon, the Timbuktu, not A Course in Miracles, not Your Best Life Now, not A Purpose-Driven Life, not Battlefield of the Mind. No, my Torah. He said, unless he had accepted, meaning embraced, taken, understood, learned the Torah, and I had instructed him in understanding, but now because he transgressed it wittily, cleverly, willingly, leading to his own understanding, yes, just on this ground that he know thereof, he shall be what? Tormented. See, just off of that, they knew the truth. They knew the Torah. Well, they didn't know the truth. They heard the truth. They were told to turn back to the Torah. They were told to stop doing what they want to do. Don't listen to yourself. Listen to the prophet. In this case, now Baruch. In our case, DFG. You would not listen to the prophets. You will not listen, the book says. And now, he said, because you have done that, all these things that I talked about earlier, including this so-called American status, it's going to get revoked. Because they say America is white. I just read it to you. Less than 200 years ago, 1828, we're in 2026. Less than 200 years ago, they said America was white, European. I read you the Constitution. They said you weren't a citizen at least until 1868. But that was predicated on your submission to them, to their government, to their laws, their rules. Remember, accepting of a crime, then you're no longer a citizen. You're a slave again. You're a servant again. A field hand, a domestic servant again. See, it comes together. He goes on to say that. Verse 6. Now because he transgressed, or she, wittingly, using his own understanding, people destroyed for lack of knowledge, wittingly, yes, just on this ground, just on that very thing he's saying, that he should know thereof, he's going to be tormented. Miserable, lost, praising a Yahuah, praising the Creator who don't even know your name anymore. He's forgotten about you. Some of you never knew him in the first place. You just took Christianity, you took your Christian behavior, and you came over here and you stopped praying to JC, and you just started doing the same thing other than what you were doing for JC part of it, and you still walking in them same ways. Wittingly. That's what wittingly means. You're doing it your way. Not what he says, what you say. And just like he told Baruch to warn the people in Baruch's day, Moses in his day, Jeremiah in his day, Ezekiel in his day, Ezra in his day, he told me to warn you in our day. He goes on to say this, and as regards what you did say touching the righteous, speaking evil against us because you don't like it, evil against me because you don't agree with me, on that on account of them has this world come. So also against you, that which is to come is going to come on their account. Talking about destruction. For this world is to them strife and labor with much trouble. And that accordingly which is to come, for the righteous among us, he said he's going to give us a crown of glory. But he said all those others out there who reject the Torah, reject the prophet, reject the truth for their own ways, he's saying you're in so much trouble, you have no idea. This is how bad, look what Isaiah says, and we'll wrap it up. Isaiah says it's going to be this bad, brothers and sisters. This is Isaiah chapter 66, verse 24. He says, and we shall go forth, talking about that righteous that Baruch talked about, those of us who keep the Torah, those who obey Yah's prophet, those who are not perverting their relationship with Yahuah, these men who are not, saying I don't fear nobody, but yet they start crying when shit hits the fan. Like Mr. Sanford or Wilson. Because Jesus ain't going to save you. And you ain't going to save yourself either, by the way. Yahuah is the savior of mankind. Yahuah is the redeemer of Yahshua. Not you. And definitely not me. I'm just his spokesperson. I'm his representative. He's empowered me to speak on his behalf. He's empowered me to heal on his behalf. He's empowered me to cry out to him on our behalf. But this is what he told Isaiah on our behalf. He said this: in the new heaven and the new earth that's going to come, they shall go forth, talking about the righteous, and look upon the carcasses of men that have transgressed against Yahuah. You notice it didn't say transgressed against Trump, transgressed against President, G, China, or Putin, or Abram, possibly. No, he ain't talking about none of them. No, he said those who have transgressed against me, meaning Yahuah. And Baruch already told you what that looks like. When you dismiss his Torah, when you're dismissive of his prophet, you will not follow the direction. Even if you're warned that you need to follow the direction, you still won't do it because you don't care, because you believe that you're right. This is what he says is going to happen. He says, and they will look upon their bodies. The word carcasses is just another word for bodies. Well, I ain't going to have no body. Well, he's going to come back upon you. That flesh that's going to go to dirt, that flesh, like, what did Ezekiel 37. Remember he said, shall these bones live again? Remember he said, yeah, they're going to be flesh on them bones again. Go read it, Ezekiel 37. Will these bones live again? Yeah. These bones going to take on flesh. You going to take on flesh again. But you're going to burn. Well, let me get it. He said, and their bodies of men have the carcass, the bodies of men that have transgressed against me, but their worm, which is their spirit, shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched. And they shall be what? Abhorring, horrifying, terrifying. Those that we're going to be looking at them, brothers and sisters. That's what it means when they say, unto all flesh. He said we're going to look down at them and it's going to be horrifying, terrifying. This is why Wilson is crying. But some of you are so bold, you say, well, I ain't going to cry. Well, you will cry then. Give it a minute. Your day's coming. So, Yahuah, should they fear you? Absolutely. They say the fear of Yahuah is the beginning of knowledge. You're only waking up when you fear him. But a fool is a reproach to any man. Or sin is a reproach to any man, better said. Or mankind, women included. So this is the word that he has given me. What you choose to do with this word is totally up to you. But don't say that you love Yahuah, but you don't want to help with the work of Yahuah. Don't say you love Yahuah, but you can't take correction. So you, as the book said, you run off because you have some rationale for which you have planted your flag in the ground and said, I'm standing on this and I don't care what nobody says. Okay, you will care. Maybe not today, but you wait when you hear that knock on the door. And you say, who is it? And they say, open the door. And you say, who is it? And then you hear a boom sound because they done kicked the door in and snatch you up and everything that you call human in that house. And off you going to go. This is a prophecy. For Yahuah told me, I'm telling you. Now, what you do with this information is totally up to you. But I guarantee you it's going to happen. So yeah, Haiti or Haitians, get ready, they're coming. All of you who are getting subsidized housing by hook or crook, get ready, you about to become homeless. All of you who've been trusting in man, get ready, you're going to find out that man was not trustworthy after all. All of you who are trusting in yourself, you are a fool. Get ready. Your sin about to find you out. In other words, that sin going to reveal itself for what it is, even though you said it wasn't sin. So you've been warned. I've done my job. That being said, I'll say again. Will you help with this work or will you not? That's your decision. And helping is thumbing up the message, sharing the message, and obviously supporting the work. For the most part, you're not going to do. Because you don't listen to no man. Even if it's the man that Yahuah said that you should be listening to, his prophet. So, a day will come. Ezekiel said it better than I can say it, so let's see. Let's go over to the book of Ezekiel. You don't have to listen to the prophet. You don't have to listen to no man. You're listening to yourself. Abba Yahuah talking to you. No, he's not. That's you talking to yourself. He's just giving you time to just fall farther and farther into your wickedness. It says here, verse 33, or in your rebellion, better say it. Rebellion is witchcraft, so don't forget that. Verse 33, Ezekiel chapter 33, verse 33. And when this comes to pass, he's talking about, you hear, let's look at verse 32. He said, the voice of Yahuah unto them is a lovely song, and one that has a pleasant voice. Or he said, the word of Yahuah to them as a lovely song, and one that has a pleasant voice, and can play well on an instrument. For they hear your words, but they will not do them. And it will come to pass. And lo, it's going to come to pass. You shall know that there was a prophet that had been among you. Shalom, Yahshua.